Well, ladies and gentlemen, over the last number of years, if you've looked at the EKN shifter cart driver rankings, stock moto as it was at that point, there was one name that you saw consistently at the top over the last couple of years, and that's Billy Musgrave. And I'm happy to have Billy joining me here on another edition of The Hot Seat, where we take a driver or an industry member, set them down, drill them with some questions, but for the most part, just get into a really cool conversation about what's going on in the sport, what's going on with them, and how they potentially see the future rolling out. Folks, my name's Rob Howden. Thank you so much for joining us here on the EKN Radio Network. Again, it is The Hot Seat, and we welcome in Billy Musgrave.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I know you're super busy, and again, thank you so much for carving out some time. It is, what we got, Wednesday, June the 5th. You have a California Pro Kart Challenge race at CalSpeed, your home track, coming up this weekend. I know there's lots of testing to be done as well. First and foremost, let me do a kind of a little rollout here for you, Billy, and then I'll ask you to kind of give us your origin story to educate our listenership more about who you are and how you got in the sport. Folks, obviously, let's start with Billy Musgrave, 27 years of age, from Norco, California, obviously one of the top guns in shifter kart racing here in the sport in America. Made his debut, let's say his breakout race was 2012 at the Super Nationals, was able to come out and win the S2 semi-pro stock Honda race at the Rio. Developed his career over the last couple of years as well. Went on to win the 2017 S1 race at the Super Nats. Backed it up in 2018 in Pro Shifter. So he's one of a very small group with 3 wins at the SCUSA Super Nationals. Pro Tour, Superkart USA Pro Tour. He's been in the top 5 for the last 4 years. 3 of those 4 years, either second or third. That one elusive trophy he wants to put on the mantle, of course, SCUSA Pro Tour Championship. But back home, of course, where he'll be racing this weekend, last year, the S1 champion in the California Pro Kart Challenge for Superkarts USA, went undefeated in 2018 in PKC action. And he's won 5 of the last 6 S1 titles, second only in 2015. Billy, I'll ask you about your origin story, but how's it feel when you hear like that body of work kind of being rolled out in front of you?
It's hard to believe, honestly. I
Right?
mean, when you're in the moment, just racing, it's always just all focus on the next race and then the next race and then the next race. Sometimes, it's like you stop for a second and look back and you just go, holy crap,
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just hard to believe.
Obviously you have, you and your father, Willie, with Musgrave Racing Company. You'll get into that a little bit. You guys have become one of the really core foundation companies in Southern California. You support a lot of racers. You develop a lot of products. You build engines. You sell product. You're one of those core shops that any good nucleus of karting needs, or any sport. You have to have the industry to support it. You guys have done that. Let's have a look now. How did this happen? I want to kind of start with the origin story, because people that listen to the EKN radio network may not, some of them may not know exactly who you are. Of course, they've seen you on the EKN driver rankings. They've seen you win races, but there could be guys around the country that, just need to learn more about Billy Musgrave. 27 years of age. How did you get into the sport of karting?
It's actually a pretty funny story. So, me and my dad have been racing motocross. He'd been doing it his whole life. I'd been doing it for, I think 12 or 13 years at that point. This is back in like late 07, early 08. And, somehow my dad got a bug to try some karts. We did some rental karts, had a blast, decided, hey, let's, I see they make shifter karts. Let's give that a try. So my dad went down to actually Extreme Karting at the time, back when Tom Kutcher ran it. And, they made him a killer deal. He, brought home a shifter kart. We took turns driving it, and we were just like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. I didn't know driving, a 4-wheel machine could be this awesome, could be this, intense.
Yeah.
And it just kind of escalated from there. So, it didn't all just happen at once. We just kind of took it slow and just dabbled in it here and there, did some local club races, did some little pro kart races, mainly focused on motocross for the next couple of years. That was still my main thing. 2012, turned pro in the motocross world, and was taking it pretty seriously, was having some pretty decent luck until it ran out, and then suffered a broken femur about halfway through 2012. So that kind of put a stop to the two-wheel riding. decided to focus a bit more on the carts, because 4 or 5 weeks later I could hop in a go-kart and I could push the gas pedal. So I'm like, hey, let me do this for a while. This is fun. So really started just practicing and developing that side of it, and really started fine-tuning the chassis setup and stuff like that. And we rolled into SuperNats 2012, just way in the back of the pits, and ended up having an incredible race against some pretty good names now looking back. I mean, Sabre Cook, Ryan Kinnear. I remember just not knowing who any of these people were, really just showing up and racing, but we were able to come home with a win. Pretty stoked. And then on the drive home is really when it started. So we just kept getting phone call after phone call, people asking us to work on their motors, or build them chassis, or do some driver coaching. And me and my dad just kind of looked at each other on the drive home and said, hey, you want to give this a shot? So
old school supply and demand, right? All of a sudden you win a big race, and there's the supply, and there's the demand, and you guys have to become the supply. That's what a cool story. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So basically ever since then, it's just been wide open, 7 days a week, just trying to build it up and make customers happy, and really just try to grow the sport. That's our motivating factor behind everything we do. We want to put as many people we can in as many carts as we can.
And isn't that kind of the interesting part of this, right? You find this sport coming out of motocross. We've seen a lot of people that have transitioned from motocross, some because of injury, some who just wanted to try something a bit different. You get into this thing, you fall in love with it. It's, the passion for it because of the intensity, as you said, just the actual experience of driving a shifter cart. I've done it many times. I've raced them. I love it. And then all of a sudden, but it just drags you guys in, you and your dad, Willie. All of a sudden, you guys are full time. Like, you go from being a father-son team to all of a sudden, like, for the last 7 years, this has been your life. And like you said, 24/7, 7 days a week.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, what drives you to do that? Because obviously you had passion for motocross. I know it's the same kind of deal. You're grabbing gears. It's a great ride. What is it that drives you guys to do it so intensely and so 100% all in?
It's honestly just love for the sport. Like, obviously there's, some issues with the sport in general and the large scale stuff, but small scale stuff, I mean, just the simple experience of hopping in a cart, and it don't matter whether it's, obviously I'm biased and I love shifter cars, but whether it's an X30, K100, 206, just the experience of hopping in a cart, getting onto a full size track and just, ripping around some turns. It's one of the most unique, thrilling, intense experiences I think anybody can have. And, for it to be, about a million times safer than motocross, but offer that same level of, thrill and intensity, it's just something I want more people to experience. And I just want to share with, more people around the country.
Yeah, there's a reason why so many guys in Formula One or IndyCar or whatever it may be, when they get an opportunity, jump back behind the wheel of a shifter, because it's that rush. Well, number one, it's a great training tool for the guys at that level, but it's still that great rush. Guys out there pounding out laps, having fun with each other.
It's just so pure.
It's pure. It's as Dan Weldon always said, right? Karting was the purest form of motorsport for sure.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to talk more about that a little bit. Folks, we're talking here with Billy Musgrave on an episode of The Hot Seat here on the EKN Radio Network. Again, my name is Rob Howden. Great to have you with us. Stay bored. We got more to come after this break. Cometic Gasket is a leading worldwide supplier of gaskets and engine sealing solutions for karting, automotive performance, power sports, original equipment, and the remanufactured engine industries. Cometic karting gaskets are available as OE replacement top-end kits or as individual gaskets and seals. Just like competitive karters, Cometic can operate on the fly and has a unique capability to customize any gasket to meet specific engine requirements and clearances. All of Cometic's fiber materials are asbestos-free and do not require any additional sealants. Viton oil ring cylinder head seals are used in each 2-cycle kit, and Cometic's 4-cycle engine kits feature only the most advanced multi-layer steel head gaskets. Cometic can tailor to engine builder-specific needs through bulk ordering and packaging flexibility. Cometic gaskets are must-haves for championship-winning teams across multiple disciplines of both professional and amateur motorsports. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989. With over 35 years of manufacturing experience, Precision Karting Technologies is the leader in American-made components. We produce high-quality products, led by our full line of chromoly and mild steel axles. Metric or imperial, standard or custom, we have what you need. Collars, keys, bearings, we're the source for axle components in the USA. We're not just axles either. At PKT, we can manufacture motor mounts, hubs, brake rotors, and even GoPro mounts. We're also the choice for axle and chassis straightening. We've designed a dedicated table for the sole purpose of straightening and laser aligning your chassis. If needed, we have the capability to cut, replace, and weld portions of your chassis as well. Big crash bent your frame? Send it to us. Broke a spindle yoke off in a wreck? We can replace it. You don't need to toss that expensive frame in the trash bin. We can fix it. We can repair and straighten chassis, and we CNC machine the finest karting products in the country. With over 70 dealers throughout the US and Canada, it's easy to choose PKT. Family owned and operated, proudly made in the USA. PKT. What's in your cart? Hey racers, this is Rob Howden, and I'm super excited to be back with the Texas Pro Kart Challenge family this year. Gina and Mark French put together a perfect 3-weekend series after listening to the racers, and with the season opener in Denton behind us, it's time to head to the incredible track in Amarillo in July. Then, we'll cap it all off again at the Jewel of Houston Karting, Speed Sports Racing Park in mid-September. Get the final 2 Texas PKC dates on your personal calendar, and I'll see you there. We're back racing on July 19th, 2021 at the Amarillo Kart Circuit. This track is a scale version of the F1 circuit in Istanbul, Turkey, and the drivers love it. It's certainly a venue to add to your bucket list. It's 2 full days of racing for Mini and Micro Swift, Briggs 206 Senior and Masters, KA100 Junior and Senior, X30 Junior, Senior, and Master, Stock Honda Senior and Master, and Pro Shifter. They're also adding a local option class for Briggs 206 Junior. Stay tuned for more exciting news. Come join the Frenches and I in West Texas in July. We're going to be racing, grilling, and enjoying the awesome Texas Pro Kart Challenge community. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden. This is an episode of The Hot Seat, and we have put Billy Musgrave, one of the top shifter car drivers in the country. He's been number 1 at a time. It's kind of bouncing back and forth. That's what kind of competition we have at that level, and Billy's always in the middle of it. Multi-time champion in the California Pro Kart Challenge. Some big news actually coming out just last week, Billy, and that's kind of the reason why I got a hold of you, because a bit of a shakeup. You've obviously run for your dad, you and your father's shop, Musgrave Racing Company, MRC. You've been on the Aluminos the last number of years and have done a great job with Rob Soares and his crew, and have been able to win a bunch of races there as well. But huge news coming that you now will move, at least your focus on your professional racing will move to Croc Promotion USA, the new program that has won so many races this year. You're now going to team up alongside Jake French to present what I think is probably the toughest and strongest duo of drivers we've seen under a tent in a long time.
That's the plan.
Let's talk about first what it's. Tell me how this came about. Let's start with that.
Yeah. So, I'll start with just myself personally first.
Yeah.
Basically we've been in a tough spot with the supply lines from Aluminos lately. I mean, really going all the way back to CRG, Rob's been put in a tough spot. So, it's one of those things that it's nobody's fault really. It's just, it's just a bad situation. Product was phenomenal. Aluminos stuff was phenomenal. Like you said, have had amazing success with it. Went undefeated last year. I mean, it was been an incredible product and incredible chassis. Still going to support it, all around the country. But, Todd, basically came up to me a few weeks ago and, I don't want to say harassed me, but hounded me.
Relentless, right?
He was pretty relentless. And, he really wanted to put together, one of the most professional and unstoppable, race teams, shifter karting and, even, all of karting has ever seen. So, I talked a lot with Jake and his dad, Mark, and, just basically decided, after talking with Todd and he, just the focus that he was willing to provide for, like you said, my professional racing side of it, for me to focus a lot more and have the resources and tools and, access to whatever I need on that side of it. It's very appealing. So, basically, yeah, I pulled the trigger. The offer was good, but the opportunity was even better. So, like you said, I mean, to work with Jake alongside him and be able to go toe to toe, side pod to side pod around the track, basically all year long. I mean, I think it's going to push us to a whole new level. And I'm excited to see what that brings.
It's what I find interesting is, and again, you see a lot of the kids that come out, and you'll look into maybe the tag categories, the single speed, and you'll see drivers anywhere from 15 to like 18, 19, a couple of 19 or 20-year-olds. Shifter karting always seems to be a little bit older. Drivers anywhere between 17 up to 20, 21. You're 27 years old. Jake's in his early 20s as well. There's going to be a maturity there, I think, too, for you guys. You guys have been through so much. You've been racing, obviously racing for so long. You've raced at a high level for so long. I got to think that you guys are going to be able to play off each other when it comes to not only developing setups, but also, and we'll talk later, about being involved in new development, testing, and prototyping for Croc Promotion USA.
Yes, exactly. So that's, like we were just talking before I got on this call, that's really where our focus is right now. So, Jake and I were really pushing the development side, the prototyping side. Now the opportunity that Todd's presented us, we get to work very closely with Armando Fellini, the chassis designer back in Italy. So, we really get to have a next level understanding of these chassis and what they're built for, and, what we can change, and, when we're having problems, what we need to focus on. And so it's going to offer us something that, is going to be pretty hard to beat for sure in the next, not only this year, but in the next few years. So yeah, and then like you said, I mean, just the maturity, the experience, really. I mean, I can't tell you how many races Jake has done in his life. I mean, I can't even count how many I've done together. It's going to be a pretty good wealth of experience. So that's going to be hard to beat for sure.
When you mentioned Todd, we're talking about Todd Ullman from Mad Old Nut Racing and Croc Promotion USA. And I'm going to get him on a podcast myself pretty soon, an industry insider, because I think it's worth talking to him to kind of get his feel of what he's trying to do. But in talking with him and in talking with you before we set up for this interview, one of the interesting things is that, there's people have said this many, many times. The Italians built their karts. They test like crazy in Europe at South Garda, wherever it may be. They do all their testing. Tracks here are a bit different. Number one, we're on a different tire. We're on a different power plant. Before it was the stock Honda. You've talked before about helping to develop the Aluminos and how it would work with the MG Vincos and the stock Honda power plant and the way it delivers power. Now we have the new IAME SSE 175, which is a much different beast. You're again on the Iveco and MG tires. Really, it's kind of a cool opportunity that Todd's really kind of focusing on. Let's come up with a Croc Promotion USA chassis that is more centric and more focused on the actual environment that you race here in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, one of the key pillars of, not only the race team, but then the whole distribution network we're beginning to set up is, basically it's Italian designed, but it's American tested and race proven. So, it's something, America can really say it's built for us. You know what I mean? It's, it's manufactured over there, but it's the design. I mean, all the thought, effort, race testing that goes into it, it is made specifically for what we're using it for.
I saw some video from the last LAKC race at CalSpeed, and I believe in the shifter kart category, it was just up front was you and Jake going at each other. Is this going to be like an old school kind of dogfight for the rest of the year between you two guys?
Oh, I hope so. No, it's awesome. I mean, hell, even back in Utah, I think for like fourth or fifth place, me and Jake we're going at it for 5 or 6 laps there. But no, it's just nice to, have somebody that's, obviously fast, but also races super clean. And so we can throw it in on each other and, we give each other space and, really push each other to the limits and maybe sometimes past the limits, but that's okay.
That's all right. I'm okay with that. Hey, here's a question for you. And this is obviously one of the things that we're seeing, and you guys being so focused on shifter kart racing and other parts as well, but you guys have a love for shifter kart racing. we're obviously in a really weird place when it comes to shifter carts right now. The transition essentially from stock Honda, which was this national level package, we saw it kind of drop numbers over the last couple of years. SCUSA finally saying, okay, we're going to do something different. They didn't want to go straight to KZ, so they're going to develop their own package, which had a more focus on reliability and durability. I know you were a part of a lot of the testing. I want to talk a bit about the IAME SSE 175 because it's interesting because you'll see some guys are jumping into it, some have not yet. There's guys that have embraced the rock shifter package, which is good on its own. It's a different animal. What are your thoughts on the IAME 175? I know you guys are big fans of it, but what is your thought about the engine itself and the experience of driving it?
All you need to do is drive it.
Okay.
It'll sell itself better than I can. But for anybody that's on the fence, I've been doing a lot of driving in the last year, a lot of testing with the 175, but I've also had the opportunity to drive a lot of rocks. Obviously, I have a ridiculous amount of seat time with the Honda, and basically after the last 4 or 5 months, just driving the 175, really focusing on it, trying to hone it in, work on the carburation. I try to get back in some of my customer carts recently, and I can barely do 5 or 6 laps before I'm over it.
Really? You like the experience that much?
It is unbelievable. All engines have their issues here and there. But I think the kinks are definitely getting worked out with the 175. Obviously it's the first 6 months of it's in its infancy, so we're going to work some kinks out. But just the experience it offers, when you grab the throttle and it pulls the front tire off the ground, it is like, I thought go-karts were sick back in 2008 when I first did it. Man, if I would have drove one of these, I would have just dropped everything. And this is all I would have ever done. It just offers an experience that, even a KZ, it honestly doesn't come close. It's, what's so cool about it is it's something so much different. It's like your normal shifter kart classes are over here in the same little, in the same box that we've been running for the last, 10, 15 years. And this thing comes in and it's like, well, it's not a Honda, it's not a Rock, it's not a KZ, it's its own unique beast that I think is just a whole different platform.
With the people I've been talking to, Billy, and I know you weren't in the sport at that point, but it reminds me of that 2000, 2001 to 2003, 4 when they had the built Hondas. When the Honda was totally tricked out, totally built. And I talked to guys, and they're saying that's the kind of experience I had. It's just this unbelievable rush of bottom end torque, and it was a beast to drive, and it was fun to drive, and that's what the mod moto stuff was back in the day, and it's almost like they've got back to that with a real visceral experience. Something, as you said, it's just different than driving a KZ or a Rock or a stock Honda. Exactly,
and hopefully, it's lasting a lot longer than some of those moto engines were back in the early 2000s. I've heard those stories. Dang.
They were interesting days for sure. No doubt about that.
But listen.
I was just going to ask you. Let's talk about Musgrave Racing Company a little bit because, again, people around the country may not know a lot about you. You guys are very centric on California, on the shifter kart world. What is MRC? What do you guys do, and what do you guys provide to the industry?
We try to provide, anything and everything, whatever the customers want. We do primarily our largest business is new and used kart sales. So we do a lot of just, we get a lot of calls from people that are new to the sport or looking to get into the sport, and we try to make that transition as smooth and easy as possible. So we just try to provide as much information. Like simple user manuals, just, emails, just try to make it so when somebody who has no idea what a go-kart is, and they come in and they, they're in Indiana or, in California or wherever they are, and they want to buy a go-kart and get into it, I can, set them up with enough information to make them as self-sufficient as possible. So it seems like we do a pretty good job of that. And, the customers get, they can get into it relatively easy. We try to lower that barrier to entry as much as we can. And obviously we're still working on a lot of big things to make that barrier to entry even smaller in the future. But aside from that, obviously we run the race team. We do everything from shifter karts primarily, but also, tags, a couple of cadet stuff here and there. From all the motor work, that stuff never ends. The dyno time, the chassis work. It's gnarly. So we have a 10,000 square foot building over here in Riverside, California. We have, I think, just over 100 carts in there right now.
Wow.
Mostly all just customer carts, guys that pay to store them there or have us do work on them, that kind of stuff. So suffice to say, it is 7 days a week.
Yeah. And you guys are at the track a lot, right, at CalSpeed?
Oh, yes. I'm usually there 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
Like I said, mostly just taking new guys out, just kind of
Yep.
holding their hands, showing them the basics of, how to set your tire pressures and how to do your front end alignment and, how to drive around a corner, just the super basics. But where I can take, like the other week, I took some 10 and 12-year-old kids, never driven a go-kart in their life. And in about 3 sessions, they were ripping around in shifter carts, like it was natural. So
Nice.
to be able to see that and just kind of, have that experience, all they'd ever done is, driven some ATVs and UTVs out in the desert. And then they get on these machines and it's just the expression on their face is just, oh my God, this is amazing. So I live for that. You know what I mean? That, being able to provide and, help facilitate that experience and that, awesome feeling is, it's just cool. It's awesome.
Folks, talking right now to Billy Musgrave, again, one of the drivers you have seen at the very top of our EKN Stock Moto driver rankings for the last number of years. We've transitioned that to the shifter cart rankings, and I don't think Billy's going to be going anywhere. Stay with us, folks. After this break, we'll have one more break here. We're going to come back. I got a couple more questions for Billy, and then, of course, we'll put him on the hot seat with the EKN Fast 5.
Cartlift has been designing, engineering, and building innovative cart stands since 2003. Our flagship model Winchlift LT is the motorized workhorse of our cart stand lineup and should be the foundation of your karting program. When it comes to test days or race days, the Winchlift is an invaluable tool that allows you to head to the track to test and tune anytime, knowing that your cart will easily be lifted with the press of a button. Add our innovative winch stacker, and now you can double stack 2 carts on top of a folded down winch lift, saving space in your trailer or garage. If a lifting cart stand isn't for you, then one of our traditional folding scissor stands, double or triple stacker stands, or upright stand should fill the need. Every one of our cart stands features flat-free wheels and casters and a durable powder coat finish. Check out our full stand lineup as well as our chassis skid plates, tire changers, and accessories at cartlift.com. That's www.cartlift.com.
Carts, parts, engines, tires, and tools. At sharkshifter.com, what you need is just a click away. We carry the biggest names in chassis, like Tony Kart and FA, DR Kart, CRG, and VLR. We have new chassis and all the parts you need. At sharkshifter.com, we also stock top-quality replacement parts from Swift Components, like axles, sprockets, and hubs. We have the inventory you need for your stock Honda as well, from cylinders, heads, and engine parts to reeds, exhaust pipes, ignition covers, radiators, air filters, and air boxes. We build our own billet aluminum components as well, including motor mounts and clutch levers. Need to add to your toolbox? We offer alignment tools, brake, battery, and exhaust tools, tire gauges, and hand tools. Stop messing around getting your seat in the right position. We have a seat mounting system that makes it easy. Check the website for monthly specials. If you need it, we can get it to you fast. We ship the same day. Sharkshifter.com, your online source for carts and parts.
If clean racing, fair competition, and tons of fun is what you're looking for in a racing program, then look no further than the United States Pro Kart Series. MG Tires and IAME USA East have teamed up to present the 7th edition of the USPKS, and it just keeps on getting better. USPKS just wrapped up the first event of 2019, and it was a blowout success. The Southern GP in Ocala was one of our biggest and best events ever, setting the stage for another banner year. The 2019 USPKS once again takes its racers to top karting venues like Ocala Grand Prix, GoPro Motorplex, and Newcastle Motorsports Park. If stacked fields, cash prizes, and tons of laps is what you're after, then USPKS is where you want to be. If you'd like to join the party in Mooresville or Newcastle, check out our website at uspks.com. Move up to karting, move up to USPKS.
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden, another edition of The Hot Seat. our podcast where we take a driver or an industry member, put them down and dream with some questions, talk about the sport a little bit. Billy Musgrave's our guy right now from the Musgrave Racing Company. He's been one of the top drivers in the sport for the last number of years. 3 times a winner at the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals, and in fact, back-to-back reigning S1 Pro Shifter champion there. Billy, here's one question I have for you. I find this interesting. You're 27 years old. We've talked about it before. You're a couple years away from Masters. I don't ever see you probably running Masters for quite a while. At 27, you're racing against guys who are 15 to 19 years of age primarily, right?
Yep.
What drives you to keep in that realm? What keeps driving you to be able to drive at that level against these guys?
Honestly, just passion for the sport. And to be honest, I don't feel, I joked around with my buddies, and I'm the oldest guy on the X30 grid by almost 10 years.
Right. It's true.
But I love the sport, and I feel like, I'm still learning every day I drive the kart. It's not like, I've been here, done that. I want to keep going to the track. I want to keep testing. I want to keep learning. I want to keep being better. So, that's part of the reason why I pulled the trigger on this deal with Croc Promotion was, I felt like I can still be in my prime, or rather my prime has yet to come in my career. So, with this opportunity to really focus on the professional side of racing and the development side, get kind of behind the scenes and work on the chassis prototyping and developing, firsthand, it's a killer opportunity. And I think, I still have a Pro Tour National Championship to win one of these years. So I'm not stopping until I do that. And then, to be honest with you, like my long-term goal, at some point in my life, I want to be, like you said before, I've won 3 Super Nationals wins so far. I know Connor DeFilippi holds the record at 4. Yeah. Between you and me, I want to be the guy that wins 5.
I like it. Hey, listen, I want you to take this as a complete positive, because I think it's exactly what it is. I've been watching you for 7 years, and I'm going to tell you right now, I still think your best days are in front of you. I've watched you develop, from 2012 through, and you just keep getting better and better and better at what you do. And
I'm a slow learner, but I do learn.
Billy, I don't think so. You think about the amount of time you've been in the sport compared to some of the guys that you're racing against. There are guys that you race against now, right? Yeah. There's guys that you race against now who are 10 years younger than you that started before you did.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the key, I think. And David and I have talked about this before. David Cole and I have said, Billy, we just watched you get better and better and improve at all the other parts of your game. And you said you continue to learn. Is there one component or some stuff that you're getting even better at, you feel you have a better control of or a handle on than maybe you did in the years past?
Oh yeah, and it's definitely comes down to chassis setup, and really tuning and picking the right frame and the right chassis design for the right track conditions. Yeah. So with Aluminos, we had a couple different frames that we had in our pocket, in our arsenal. So the last couple of years, I've really been learning. Hey, these chassis work a little bit better on these kind of tracks or these conditions. This little bit different chassis works better over here. So for me, it's been back in 2012. I think when I won that race in Vegas, I won it on a literally box stock Tony kart, because I didn't know. Lucky for me, Tony Kart built a really awesome shifter kart that year. Yeah. But heck, I didn't really know. When you put caster in the car, I barely knew what that did. And like I said, I didn't get into a go-kart until I was 16 and a half or something like that. So. And then for the first 3 or 4 years, I just drove. I didn't know how to set my front end alignment or do any of that crap. So I've just kind of learned by trial and error. And, I think my biggest obstacle for sure has been the Pro Tour races, showing up at those events and seeing the drastically changing track conditions, throughout Saturday and Sunday when, especially the last couple of years, it seems like the tracks start to get hot and then they start to get really greasy and then you start to slide around a little bit. It definitely doesn't seem to fit my driving style. I seem to drive a little bit too aggressive for those kind of conditions. But, that's where I'm excited with the new opportunity is we can find some chassis and some, frames that work specifically for those scenarios. That's kind of what I'm after. Then I feel like I have all the tools at my disposal to be able to, make that championship title happen.
Yeah, that's exciting. I like to hear that. The fact that there are things that you continue to learn and continue to get better at, to master, which I think is awesome. And changing track conditions, of course, is something that's huge in terms of being able to be fast over a course of a weekend on the national level. Now, here's my question for you now. With this new program, obviously you came in with certain goals for 2019. You wanted to win that championship. Issues, of course, at the Winter Nationals were tough for you. You had some speed at Spring Nats. You're going to have to really dig in and have some luck probably to get the Pro Tour this year. But overall, what are your goals for 2019?
Just continue to win races. I think obviously the Pro Tour is what it is, but between me and Jake, we're coming into Newcastle with a plan, and we're coming to win. Straight up, we are coming to win that race no matter what. So that's objective number one. No matter how the points shake out at the end, we want to be able to take home a couple Pro Tour wins. And then, I think if either me or Jake wins on a Croc, I think that'll make Croc Promotion the first chassis ever to have 3 different drivers, maybe 4, win a Pro Tour event on the same chassis. I don't think it's ever happened in any class ever.
You know what? We'd go to David Cole on that because he's the stat man, but you're probably right. No, you're probably right. That's really interesting.
So, other than that, I just focusing on the Pro Kart Challenge. So this weekend we got the California Pro Kart Challenge. I'm going to still definitely try to go undefeated in that one more year.
Yep. Keep it going. Keep going.
I know Jake's going to not make that easy for me, but I love it. But yeah, we're just going to keep focusing, and we have some good plans for Super Nats this year. I think we have some good chassis in store for that. So, like I said, we got a plan for it all.
That's it. All right, let's move into the EKN Radio Network Fast 5. I've got 5 questions for you here. Easy answers, long answers, whatever you want to be, but it's the Fast 5. Billy Musgrave, are you ready?
Oh, I am ready.
All right, here we go. First and foremost, first question. What was your first kart? Give us some detail on it.
Oh, it was an Aero AX8.
An Aero AX8.
And
nice.
It had been cracked and re-welded about 17 times by the time we were done with it.
And did it have a stock Honda on it? What
absolutely. Yeah, stock Honda.
And you were out just playing around with it. That's awesome.
Yep, just hitting stuff.
The Australian-made Aero. I love it. All right, here's the second question of the Fast 5. What is your favorite kart track?
Ooh, current kart track in the country, I'd say my favorite would probably be NOLA.
You pulled current out, so I know where you're going to go. I know where you're going when we go to non-current track.
Yes.
Okay, but current kart track is what?
I'd probably say NOLA Motorsports Park over in New Orleans.
Yeah.
That
what do you like about it?
Just that facility and just the flow of that track just gives you, I'll say it, it gives me the closest experience I think we have right now to something like Moran used to.
Yeah, there it is, right? I knew you're going there. So your favorite track of tracks that are here or are not here anymore?
100% Moran, whether it's nostalgia or I think the track really was that great. But
Billy, I loved calling races there. There were so many places to pass.
Yes.
I love that track.
Oh, it was phenomenal. And just even if you were out on the track all by yourself in the middle of the week, just grabbing gears down that front straightaway, driving into that 90-degree bank turn, it was just like, oh my God, this has got to be what Schumacher feels like.
For those of you who weren't around when there was Moran Raceway, it was a track just east of LA out in Beaumont, California. Rocky Moran Sr., Rocky Moran Jr. designed this place. They called it the Full Wood Kingdom. And there was elevation changes, and there was like a corkscrew, and like you said, bank 90-degree at the end of the front straight. That place, it was people still lament the fact that it's gone. It's now like a Lowe's or something like that, a distribution center. It was, and you know what? To be honest, and you'll probably agree with this, it really was the foundation, that birthplace of kind of the revival of stock Honda racing or shifter kart racing in Southern California, right?
Yeah.
The PK with Tom's PKC deal and everything.
Yeah, it was
180 guys coming out on a Friday night to race.
Yes, and it just, like you said, just that experience of just grabbing gears down the straightaway, dropping down the corkscrew. I mean, the off-camber turns in the back. I mean, it just had everything to where it just drive laps and laps and laps and just be like, I want to come back for more next week.
We need another Moran, folks. Let's get another one out there, please.
For sure.
All right, question number 3 of the Fast 5. What's the biggest win in your karting career? Which one? Which one did you go say, man, that was my biggest?
That's a tough one.
Right.
I think I gotta say one of the 3 Super Nats. But to be honest, this is gonna sound kind of funny. I think Lancaster last year might be one of my most enjoyable.
I get that.
It was that race. What's funny is because I won Super Nats in my first year, And so every year I
Yep.
came back with the mindset of like, I can win this. I should win this. Where Lancaster, I think I've gotten second place at that race like 5 or 6 times. It seemed to be the one race I could never win no matter what. And no matter, man, I had to race Fritz Leisman, Ron White. There were some names, LeDuc one year.
Yep.
Some fast guys that would come out for this race. And every year I just end up second somehow. So I think last year being able to just come with a plan and just execute, and actually ended up having a pretty good race with Rory Vanderster and Josh Lane. And just being able to pull that off finally, after so many years of trying, that one just felt pretty good.
And of course, Lancaster, the
awesome.
atmosphere, right? Under the lights,
Yep.
a couple thousand people there having I love it. Now, the funny thing about the Supernats is you'll ask any guy that's won the Indianapolis 500, and it's those second, if he gets a second or a third,
Yep.
because I think you can absorb it more. Because
Yes.
the first one, like you don't get a chance to absorb it. You won that first Supernats, and wow, I've won the race.
Yes.
Then it took you another 6 years to win the next one, and I'm there when you come out of the cart to win at the podium, and just the look on your face, of course, it's a different deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I would probably say, the 2017 Supernats, that year when, so going into that year, there's pretty dramatic, now me and Gary are pretty cool. We're on good terms. But going into that year, we were, we were pretty much at each other's throats, and it was a little tense.
Gary Carlton, of course.
Yeah,
Yep.
Gary Carlton. So after qualifying, when both of us set the exact same lap time for pole, it kind of set the stage for what would be a pretty crazy race. I think after the heat races, I think I ended up starting on pole, but then his teammate Iglesias ended up second, and that guy hounded me for 20 some laps.
He did.
And that was brutal, and that was on the largest Supernats track, so that was probably the longest main event we've ever had. And that was just an incredible race. I think his chain broke or something like that. And
something happened late.
And then
exactly,
Jake French came up on me with about a lap and a half to go. That one felt, it was almost the relief, like, oh, I finally pulled it off again. Like, okay, we can do this.
I love it. All right, here's question number 4 from the Fast Five. Again, speaking right now with Billy Musgrave from Musgrave Racing Company. Who is your biggest rival?
Ooh. That's a tough one. A couple of years ago, I would have said Gary.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Right now, I don't know if I would say rival. I would say, what's cool about right now in the Pro 1 class, we all get off the track after the main event, and I can hang out with AJ and Andrew and Jake and Kyle, and we're all just kind of chilling, laughing about our kart setups and where we all missed it. And, we're all actually pretty cordial, and, the atmosphere, I don't think I've ever seen, a class, especially in Pro 1 or Pro Shifter, where everybody's just super cool. And
That's cool.
We're sitting on the grid, and it's like, oh, hey, you're at 6.5 air pressure. Yeah, I went 8.5. Yeah, okay, you'll be fast for a couple hours. We're just, joking around, and it's like, we all know we're going to go, as soon as the lights go out, we're hammered down. But then as soon as we come off the track, it's like, dude, that was a killer race. You threw it in on me, drove over the top, but that was awesome. It's just, I don't know. I really love where the class is at right now.
That's awesome to hear. And you're right. When I'm calling these races, there's just so much talent all the way through. You've got guys like, Race Liberante, who's running in the Pro 2 class, fighting a one weight class up for him for sure. He'll be Pro 1 next year. But no, there's just a lot of really good guys. And I like that. That's some really good input. All right. One more question here in the Fast Five. We'll wrap up this edition of the Hot Seat. Who has been your biggest mentor or influence?
Ooh. Man, this is a tough one.
It's the Fast Five.
There's been so many. I guess I would have to. You kind of have to go with my dad. He's always pushing me, maybe yelling at me, but setting me straight for sure. And he's one of the guys that always pushes me and says, you have another 10 years, like, get your shit together, and you could dominate this sport for another 10 years. So, every time I'm either feeling down or just kind of like, damn, I suck. I messed that race up. He's the one that kind of gets me fired up again. And, well, no, screw that. Like, just be better. You know what I mean? Learn from it, get better, and, get them at the next one.
Yeah, your dad, Willie Musgrave, of course, was a top Masters driver for a number of years. That doesn't do as much driving as he used to, but the experience he had through his years as a motocross magazine bike tester as well, right? That's just wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, his racing experience, just the mental aspect of it, the mindset you need to put yourself in, when you're on the line before a race. I mean, that's something that he's helped me with tremendously.
Well, Billy Musgrave, you survived the Fast Five. I appreciate it. I know it was tough, but pretty cool answers, right? Some cool questions.
I like that. That was fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, folks, there he is, Billy Musgrave. Again, Billy, I'm going to count you out. Thank you so much for joining me here on the hot seat. I appreciate it.
Awesome. It was a pleasure being here.
Folks, it's been a treat to watch this guy race over the last number of years, and as we've discussed, kind of continues to develop from that big win at the Supernats in 2012. He's become the top driver, if not one of the elite group of shifter kart drivers here in North America, and it was a privilege to talk to him today. An interesting new chapter for Billy Musgrave as he, this weekend, will jump behind the wheel of the Croc Promotion USA entry in the California Pro Kart Challenge. He and his new teammate, Jake French, looking to go at it in PKC action. Of course, as you heard from Billy, focusing forward as well to mid-August for the final round of the 2019 SCUSA Pro Tour. We head back for the 10th annual Summer Nationals. We're back at Newcastle Motorsports Park for that one. Just a very interesting evolution in the kind of driver lineup at the national level of the sport. Again, Billy Musgrave joining Jake French at Croc Promotion USA. Folks, thank you so much for joining us here on the EKN Radio Network. This is the Hot Seat. You can always listen live on the EKN Radio app. You can go to ekartingnews.com/radio, and all the content we develop, we end up turning into podcasts. They then become available on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, and Spotify. Download the EKN Radio Network app. That's the best way to get the first chance to listen. Put it on your phone. Excellent for the drive to and from work or just working in the garage on your own racing machine. Thank you so much for joining us again. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.